Your report aims to, share a state of the world, sort of a state of the state, if you will. And it sounds like we're behind on just about everything. When you look at this, what's the most encouraging thing you see? And what's the most discouraging thing you see, the most alarming?
Well, these 15 goals set by the UN in 2015, or these goals set by the UN in 2015, we were making substantial progress on so many things: HIV, malaria, under 5 deaths for children under 5 before the pandemic. But the pandemic really set us back on so many of these goals. And the most alarming to me is gender equality. It has set us back 3 generations on gender equality.
When we spoke in March of last year, you told me that women are in crisis. How would you describe it now? What state are women in?
I would say still in crisis. Women's livelihoods were destroyed by the pandemic, whether you were in the informal sector, maybe in South Africa, or whether you had a job. Women are saying, I can't do my job at the same intensity as before or at all if I don't have safe and affordable childcare. That is just a problem. And so we've pushed women out of the workforce, and we have so many girls across the world who are not in school anymore.
How could a recession or a prolonged economic downturn make this worse?
Well, it could mean, inflation also makes it worse, right? So that economic downturn, the fact that it's, more expensive to get food or to get fuel means that we are seeing already more hunger around the world. And we're seeing, because of the Ukrainian crisis, there's less food to support Africa. And so we're seeing even more families in a state of hunger, and particularly women. Of all the people who are food insecure, 3 out of 5 are women.
The report doesn't mention the overturning of Roe versus Wade, but you have made it clear that you think America has taken a huge step backwards. What is the foundation doing to support abortion rights? What are you doing at Pivotal to support abortion rights? And where do you think the work and the urgency needs to be focused?
Well, at the foundation, we're continuing to work on family planning, and that's for low and middle income countries because women are still crying out for that. And at Pivotal, I'm really focused on how do we get more women in political positions of power in the United States. We would not have these laws overturned if we had more females in our House of Congress and in our Senate. Of that, I'm certain.
There are so many different approaches to this. For example, the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation has been one of the biggest backers of IUDs. Is that a kind of work you think should be accelerated or doubled down on? Is it a kind of work that you think could be in peril in certain states?
I think absolutely. Those IUDs are something that is a tool women use all over the world, and it means that they can time and space their births. And so we absolutely need to get those long-acting contraceptives out to women in the United States and women all over the globe. That's imperative.
I know you've worked with MacKenzie Scott, and I'm curious if you think there's an opportunity here for, a new generation of powerful women to have a different kind of impact through their philanthropy than the philanthropists of the past.
I think you're already seeing women have an impact in philanthropy, and she's one of them. She is, the way she is doing her giving and the talking about through her own writing about her giving, she is changing giving, as are a number of other female philanthropists. And I think there are many ways to give. But you're seeing women say, these are the things that are important to me, and how I give is important to me.
In your masterclass on giving, you talk about how anyone can be a giver. Even if you don't have a big checkbook, you can do something. For people who might who look at this, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, or maybe it's gun violence, and they feel helpless, what should they do?
Well, I would say to them, go out and vote. And make sure every single person you know is registered to vote and goes out and votes. You can use your vote and your voice to make sure that we have the representation we want in this country. The other thing I would say to people is, look, even $10 goes a long way. You can go on the internet and buy a bed net for somebody to sleep under in Africa so they don't get malaria. Your $10 will go a long way.
Now, when it comes to the foundation, you and Bill have said that if you found you could no longer work together, that you would step down as co-chair by 2023. How is your working dynamic evolved? Are you finding that you can continue to work together? And do you think you'll still be there next year when that deadline comes?
So Bill and I have worked effectively together for a very long time, including while we were going through a difficult time in our family life and through a divorce. We showed up, we worked then and during the pandemic, and we do today. We now have a board. We met for the first time with our board of trustees last week in person. And what I think they would all tell you is that Bill and Melinda remain completely committed to this institution and to working effectively together. And that's what we're doing today.
So how is the board going? I know you added a few new board members, up to 4. You said might consider adding more. How has that changed the dynamic? And do you think you'll add any additional members?
I think for right now, we have the board that we would like to have, and that's fantastic. We met for the first time. And the way it's changing the dynamic is they're pushing on our thinking. And that's what we wanted from a board. And we wanted good governance. It was just time. You know, Bill and I aren't getting any younger. And what I know is that the board asked fantastic questions last week about resource allocation, about partners, about our internal teams, and how we're working and incentivizing and motivating them. So I'm really looking forward to even more discussions with the board.
The Wall Street Journal reported that you plan to spread across your giving, not just to the foundation, but through Pivotal and other efforts. How are you balancing your time or changing how you're balancing your time and your efforts?
Yeah. So we founded the foundation in 2000. And then in 2015, I started something called Pivotal Ventures. The foundation I'm deeply and continue to be committed to. My values are baked in there. I love working with the employees. So that is my global platform. Then with Pivotal Ventures, I'm really working on social inequities here in the United States, and particularly lifting up women and people of color. And so I give my time equally to those two institutions.
So how does your work change in a downturn when it comes to this report, when it comes to, everything costing more, food costing more, people hurting more? Based on what you've seen and this new report, do you see shifting your priorities at all, given what you're finding?
Well, the reason that we published this report is to show where we are as a world. And it's a stark reality this year that a lot of those global goals have been set back. And so what we're saying as a foundation is we are actually increasing our payout. We know that the world is in need. There are dire consequences for people who are going hungry right now or who don't have any income. So we're increasing our payout at the foundation, and we're going deeper on gender inequality because we have to go to these root causes if we're going to change society. And what we know is progress is possible, and we're calling on governments to invest now and not to wait so we can accelerate progress.
So what's your hope for what the report tells you next year? Obviously, we're in a recession, we're in an ongoing war, we're behind on almost everything, but there are people like you and foundations like yours trying to do good in the world.
My hope is that we turn next year and are able to say, you know what? The world went ahead and doubled down on a lot of these issues. We invested in people's health, again, the way we needed to. We put money into the global fund. We made sure that food systems really started to get up and running and servicing the people who needed them. And we've started to be able to point out points of light again on gender equality. And so it's more that we'll have points of light in darkness, my hope is, but start to build back on that path of progress.